Hey, Steven here. Is this Fifi? I just finished watching Weapons with my friends in theaters. It's a horror movie that's airing right now. You should go watch it. I'll tell you right now, I was pretty damn positive on it. It was really good. So, just to get right into it, I especially enjoyed the imagery in this movie. A lot of great scares, a lot of great suspenseful scenes that were exceptionally well executed, in my opinion. I'm an anime guy. I'm not a film guy, so I'm not gonna concern myself with remembering this guy's name. But it's the dude who did Barbarian, directed this movie, and I was a huge fan of Barbarian. Everything about it, the structure, the acting, the performances, the messaging. I really liked that movie. And this one, I definitely wouldn't say it's quite as appealing to me personally, but it's doing a lot of interesting things in its own right. It's one of those movies that's segmented into the different perspectives from different points in time, from different characters, basically. So it revolves around, this main event of a bunch of kids disappearing at once, sort of maybe probably an allegory for like a school shooting or something. It's apparently based on true events. But all these kids disappear and everybody's trying to make sense of it. Nobody understands it. So, of course, everybody has their own fragmented view, which is sort of explored with this narrative structure. It goes through, I think, like 5 or 6 different people's perspectives. And I actually felt the overall character work and character writing to be one of the stronger points of this movie. I really bought into the first girl, what was her name? Justine, the teacher, and her personality of basically being like a professional horror protagonist. She's always trying to pry like very deeply into things. She's always trying to look into everything, even when it's clearly against her own best interest. And she wants to she sometimes gets in trouble for getting too involved and sticking around when she's clearly in danger or shouldn't be, or just needs to stop looking into things. So I definitely liked her. I thought her personality was very well executed and holistic. She was very complex and human, and she had her faults and her strengths, and I definitely bought into her a lot. There was other good characters. The cop guy was definitely pretty interesting. It was kind of funny when he chinned the guy. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of find that funny, but kind of messed up. There's just a lot of really solid character writing, and there's sort of this central metaphor of weapons, of kind of, I guess, turning these kids into weapons. As I said, might be a bit of a school shooting allegory going on here, but the main thing that I was buying into was the sort of grooming nature of like radicalizing kids. How like this entire class of kids is suddenly not convinced, but suddenly got to do these like extreme things because they're just so malleable. And you see a lot of characters that are trying to look into and trying to connect with these kids, even their own parents who are at times emotionally distant, like the dad, who is another really good character, or the teacher who really wants to get to know the kids, but there's sort of a rift, and professionalism sort of gets in the way of that, and all that stuff. And it's like they want to get through to and they want to communicate to these kids, but then there's always going to be people who know better how to do that, who are just like actively trying to groom their kids into doing like crazy stuff, or falling down radical pipelines and stuff like that. And I kind of thought that it was sort of playing on that fear of like kids, especially in the modern age with the internet, are just exposed to so many influences and can fall down so many rabbit holes and be led to do so many things. And even their own parents or teachers or other well-meaning adults in their life that want to be involved don't always necessarily know how to get all the way there. There's always like a little rift there. There's always a little bit of mystery and unknown when it comes to dealing with kids who are sort of still having their formative experiences and whatnot. Some recurring motifs in here were that of the parasite. So I guess the lady was kind of being like a parasite, using people's bodies as like a host to... I don't really get it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't totally get it, but she was clearly like a parasite-like figure. Really really creepy looking lady. The scene where she's like peeking down from inside the ceiling was fucking awesome. The scene where she's just randomly shown in the forest is awesome. The scene where the kid's in the bed in the dream sequence and then it just turns into her is awesome. It's all awesome. I just really loved the imagery and overall direction of this movie. And I appreciated almost tonally the structure of the narrative in the sense that, like, you know, it was giving all of these different perspectives and drip feeding you the information of this mystery narrative, but it's not an especially engaging mystery narrative. I was talking about my friend in the car afterwards who didn't seem to like it quite as much as me, and he mentioned that the way it gives information is at times a bit redundant, how the director has a little bit of a habit of sort of right before the final act retreading through a bunch of old information and explaining like how exactly we got here. It can feel a little bit maybe expo dumpy and awkward in terms of the pacing as the tension sort of ramps up, and I can definitely see that. I will say I did notice in the movie there were a lot of times where tension for certain scenes was reduced because of the fact that from the other perspectives we had already seen how things turn out. So it's like you're watching a situation, you're like, well, I've seen this guy do something at a later time, totally fine. So I know he gets out of this one, so there's no real tension to this scene, or at least there's a lot less. And then, you know, sometimes you'll know that something actually does go terribly wrong, and there's a little bit more of another side to the coin in terms of that, because there's the anxiety of like waiting for it to happen. But I don't think it was necessarily played on very intentionally, and I'm speaking particularly about the school principal or whatever, because you already know he's going to get got by Gladys, and then Gladys gots him. But it's definitely still a cool scene, even though it's would have been a little bit cooler maybe if it wasn't spoiled by the rest of the movie. And that sort of winding structure doesn't really do it any favors in the sense that this is not a enthralling mystery narrative with twists and turns that keeps you guessing. It's like, it's pretty clear from the first few minutes of the movie that, like, okay, everything is crazy is happening in this house, and the characters just don't all know it yet. And clearly, this like grandma weird aunt figure is the mastermind behind it, and the kids are all being sacrificed for some sort of like dark ritual, whether it be like a cultic or alien or whatever. Like, that was all pretty obvious, or at least intuitive. So it was like a little bit weird that they did it that way. I think I see what they were going for in the sense that it was like just all the different people's perspectives of this one great like unknown tragedy and sort of trying to make sense of it. I'm sure maybe I'd be a little bit more insightful if I actually looked into what this is based off of, but I sort of got a lot of themes of not being able to understand the full picture of how things happened, and just sort of not being able to fully understand and fully be involved in these kids' lives and decision making. It's just it's scary to imagine how many influences kids might be exposed to, and they might just end up being turned into weapons. Ooh. A real legitimate fear. And, you know, it's not that cool. I mean, this guy clearly, this director clearly especially loves injecting topical or, what would you say it, relevant social commentary. I've heard people argue that it's fairly lukewarm or even, you know, performative or virtue signaling. I don't necessarily think that. But he definitely likes to include commentary in his movies. I'll just leave it at. And it was definitely present here. However, it's always kind of corny to try to make too many like total one-to-one real-world comparisons, and I kind of just like enjoying a story for what it is. And this story, while it was a little bit structurally redundant, I really appreciated the presentation, the directing, the suspense, the character writing even. And I thought it was full of a lot of really good, memorable moments, making it one of my favorite movies that I watched this year. Certainly one of my favorite horror movies. I think I liked it a little bit more than 28 Years Later and Bring Her Back, honestly. Probably around a similar level. Definitely don't like it as much as Nosferatu. But overall, it was pretty damn good. And that's not even to mention how they said 6, 7 in the movie. He was counting. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had to do like the weighing, a little dance move. And then on top of that, there's a moment where the kid's dad is named Steven, and they're at like a parent-teacher conference, and she's like, hey, Steven here is sick. And it's like, Steven here? Just brain rot. Bullshit. One of the other things that I saw some people seem to have taken issue with is the fact that the kid doesn't like speak out about like this like crazy situation that's happening at home. I actually think that's pretty realistic. If you know anything about how people tend to react to sexual or domestic abuse as a child, I think there's clearly an allegory there. I think a lot of times when you really feel frightened as a child, you are going to shut down and go into your shell and just like totally panic and feel like nothing is safe when you're exposed to something like that. I totally understand that reaction. It is a little bit silly that the zombie parents ended up like going to the parent-teacher conference, to be honest, and like nobody noticed. That part felt like a little bit plot holy, but also there was clearly themes of incompetence in policing in this like incompetent investigation going down, and abuse of power in the police force, and all that kind of stuff in there. So the more I talk about it, I think I understand where my friend was coming from, that it wasn't like the best movie ever, but I definitely appreciated it, and on a moment-to-moment basis it was very fun. I would recommend you guys all go check it out. Peace.